Our system is broken, and watching the devastation and aftermath that Hurricane Helene has wrought upon North Carolina is a perfect example. Survivors of Helene are receiving $750 from FEMA if they are lucky enough to get it. Meanwhile, endless billions and billions of dollars over the last 3 years alone have been sent overseas to countries and endeavors that do not benefit our country and its people. If anything, it's made us less safe, less secure, and is draining our own resources for our own people in our most desperate times. The people are angry and fed up with countless money being provided to others while the American people suffer from events and catastrophes that are not their own making and that localities are not prepared for in the slightest. Local, state, and federal governments are not putting money into critical infrastructure, shoring up dams and levees, hardening the grid, setting up alternative routes. The list goes on. The money is there. We can see that. But FEMA is saying things like, we don't have enough money for this hurricane season. Meanwhile, a new investigation found that over $7 billion in funds is available to FEMA from previous years. But for some reason, they can't just open up that account and start divvying it out. And you're probably wondering, why? If there's over $7 billion in untapped funds, why can't we just access it and start helping people rebuild? That's a great question. And I have the answer for you. Bureaucracy. Our system is so overconsumed with red tape, compartmentalized hierarchies that require weeks of paper pushing and stamps of approval, or congressional votes that they don't want to do during their vacations to get anything done. Nothing is simple anymore because our system has been created to be convoluted, slow, and tiresome. It's not meant to function. It's meant to keep things in a long line of delays and stalling for time because what is really behind all this bureaucracy is ineptitude and a serious lack or desire of people with power to change how the system works. So many people in positions of leadership and power have no idea what they are doing, and some are just truly bad at their jobs. Meanwhile, the private citizens going against federal and state directives to stay away and not help people are bucking the rules and saying, no, we are going to do this, and thank God for them. The people are showing up for each other. They are the ones helping each other with food, water, shelter, supplies, communications, setting up new routes, taking supplies up mountains on mules and ATVs. People with first responder backgrounds and simple general personal experience are doing better work at helping people than some of those actually paid to do those jobs. If you have ever been to the DMV, called the IRS, or any other government entity, you know just how demoralizing and maddening it can be trying to get someone on the phone or in person that knows not only what they are doing, but that can also help you with your problem. And that is in the good times, when power and water and internet are working, trying to get things done and get answers when it's a catastrophe outside. If they can't do a good job when things are said to be calm, then of course they are going to fail miserably in emergency situations when they need to be fully functioning and doing their jobs. The people of North Carolina are getting $750. The people of Lahaina and Maui got $500. The people of East Palestine have been all but forgotten and abandoned by our government. And this shows how little our system cares about us and our immediate needs, how our system is not helping us, the people. In places like Maui and Lahaina, in order for people to barely recoup any of what they lost, they have had to spend over a year in court, with settlements being reached in August of this year, 2024. It's taken over a year to start the process of getting people substantial monetary payouts that will hopefully help them to start over, but let's face it, it barely meets the needs and will never replace what was lost. $750 is nothing compared to what people lost in North Carolina. And it was the same in Maui. The immediate funds being provided to people is not enough. $750 is not going to go far. That's barely a week of food and shelter in this inflationary hellscape we find ourselves. The red tape that has to be dealt with in order to get those measly funds, if you can provide the paperwork and evidence that you need it, is still not being provided to some people. The people most affected are not getting the help they need, and this is our system exposing itself and its failures. We better not be hearing about the people getting $750 in the months to come acting like that was enough. It should still be available to people. We saw how gaslit everyone got about the stimulus money, with talking head sycophants acting like that money was still around in 2024. We are being forgotten. We are being lied to, used, and abused by our own government. Our government will continue to show its lack of preparedness, transparency, and ability to see the moment. We have Milton barreling down on Florida, and while Florida seems seems to be preparing better than most, there is a bigger thing at play here than just a failure of our government. But that is coming up in the next video, which discusses what's really going on with the hurricanes and climate disasters, and why things are so much worse than experts have ever seen. You don't want to miss that one. My prayers are going out to everyone in the path of Milton, those that are still reeling with the aftermath of Helene and all the disasters around the world. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that upcoming climate video, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.
Who are these people?
This is called a prayer for the promised land. Well, it looks like you'll get what you wanted, as criminals so often do. In the same way a rapist might fix on a goal and by any means see that goal through. Like you'll only be happy to settle once you've bled every creature that breathes for a promised land caked in the life that was Gaza, craters and uprooted trees. Where even as I sit and type this, they are bulldozing all of the streets, and they'll pave over every war crime committed and mass grave forgotten beneath, and they'll leech even more of our taxes for the BlackRock-approved Middle East, for new luxury 3-bedroom condos next to torn, bloody tents on the beach. So I pray the first day of the project, once construction can finally begin, the officials break ground, the shovel digs down, and up comes what used to be skin. And as workers look over their blueprints, the foreman rechecking the plans, the ghosts of the fathers of Gaza surround them with children who hang from their hands. I pray when you walk in those newly built homes, as you smile and take a deep breath, that the rot in the air chokes you down to your knees, overwhelmed by the odor of death. Then the first time you step in the shower, to wash off the filth of that day, I pray that the shower head soaks you in blood and nothing can wash it away. And you stumble away from the shower as the blood starts to seep through the walls, and you hear it cascade from the ceiling as in terror you tear through the hall. And above all your shrieks and your screaming, all of Palestine's children will call. Those who begged in the dark for the touch of their mother, a touch some had not known at all. Now, could this be your holy land, soldier? Is this where you plan to call home? You really expect to come live out your life that you ever could truly atone? There are none of you worthy of mercy who have scattered these souls to the sands. And if an IDF soldier would like my respect, he can air out his skull like a man. Or better yet, take up his arms against those who would have him bring death to these lands. And yet among you are so few objectors. Just how long till the conscience is banned? So no, I do not speak for Gaza, but I pray Gaza speaks by your bed. I don't know what went through the minds of its martyrs, but I still see inside of their heads. So I pray that they join in a choir. Pray they wail in your walls while you sleep. Pray the mothers in mourning pierce right through your core. I pray you may never know peace. You can cleanse and cleanse to your morbid content, but it will not leave things pure. So I pray, if you get what you wanted, it is all that you truly deserve. That's a prayer for the promised land.
Who are these people?
By all means, Anna, yes. Shanda.
Yes.
Our
definitely
friend,
talk about that.
Our friend Shanda needs everyone's help. She's got, she went to the hospital. I don't know if you've seen her streams or her channels, but she's been diagnosed with a pretty aggressive lung cancer, and she's going to need some. She put out a GoFundMe. If you can help her and send her love and support, she's going to need it. This is a gut punch for all of us for sure. Just kind of speechless. I've had one co-host on this show other than Reef in 2024, and it was Shanda. And to hear that, just we hang out with Oz, and
when it rains, as they say.
Oz is one of our closest friends, and you know, yeah, just to see this, to see him go through this, and to see them going through this, and to see all of us have to go through this and support her, it's going to be tough. But yeah, we need to stay positive for her and give her all the love and support that we can. So we love you, Shanda, and we're thinking about you for sure. Kameshwari Kate, thank you so much for the contribution. Catch Shanda live on Monday morning on Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, on Trailer Park Pundit. You can support her there as well. Yeah. And then if Reef can figure out a way to find the GoFundMe link, and we can drop that somebody in the chats, we can spread that across and get everyone there so they can hook up our friend.
Who are these people?
Animators gets militia intent.
You can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? Now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. Why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen?
What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me. I will pick my targets and assassinate them lyrically. I will bring them out into the town square, hook them to the pillory and leave them there. And Hillary, I'll see you there. Nah, Hillary, I'll see you there.
You can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. No, why play civil when you wouldn't listen to 100,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. So why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen?
Welcome to the fantasy of rhetoric. And welcome to the last of the free speech while we can get it. And I promise you can get it. All you corporate Democrats and second wave Confederates, GOP illusionists and neo-Nazi bureaucrats. And Stephen fucking Miller, I will see you in the aftermath. When all the laws are dust, there's just moral justice after that. And I would hunt you through the wasteland if it comes to that. Just so I could rub you in the dirt like a cheap human Brillo pad. I could sleep fine when our beds are burning, Stephen, but I'll turn around and run into the blaze to get my pillow back. Cause as long as I can lay my head down, I can live with that. I can deal with a little ash 'cause I could feel like a little of the old me burn with the bad and the rest of my past. The old world where we all lived and we can't get back. The old world where you didn't give and you'd still get back. Where you could rake in 12 billion and give none back. Well, those days are behind us. The virus will kill all of that. Your wealth is behind us and kindness is meant for the past. Our leaders would bind us and starve us and call it a fast. A sacrament meant for their God that they garnish in cash. They feed it the poor by the hundreds, that's all that it asks. Its hunger is legion and people in need are all it will have. Our only chance is to starve it and watch as it turns on them.
Can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. You can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands.
An off-the-cuff chat between you and me. Us.
Because you pressed the wrong intro button.
And it went to the wrong screen on top of it. No, I didn't. I just never fixed it. Hi, everybody. Indy screwed up. We're going to have to fix that on post. All right, we're here.
You could have made a new one, but didn't.
Made
the same one.
INN News?
Everything. Made a new Stream Deck page.
I could have.
You know.
I don't. We don't do that every show. Anyway, so decided to do a little something different, and instead of the Spotify, play a couple of videos from YouTube. That was the Empathic Times. Amira, she made an awesome video about what's going on with Hurricane Helene and how it reveals our weaknesses. A couple of Jesse Jet tunes, and here we are. So got a lot to get to tonight. It has been just a fucking insane week.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
We're gonna have to. So, yeah. What have you been up to?
I mean, about 5'11", allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yep. What has been happening with me? Well, my computer died last stream we did.
Mid-show, literally.
Right in the middle. My graphics card just blew up. So fix that. Now I have two of them. So hopefully that's not a problem for a while.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Hurricane before that. So, you know, hopefully nothing bad happens.
All right. Well,
you know,
we've got, like I said in the tweet that I wrote beforehand, we've got a ton of dystopian shit to get to that is probably different from the dystopian shit that you've been paying attention to all week. So here's a whole bunch of more nightmare fuel for you. Before we get started, Anna Mare Zerdy in chat. Love her. Her hair is now officially black. Congratulations. So glad that worked out for you. But like I said, hair color doesn't matter. Wisdom is sexy. That's my new thing. But all of these amazing wise people have already hooked up INN, and there's a bunch of ways to do that. You've got Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and Rumble. You've also got INNnewsletter.com. All those links are in the scrolling ticker at the bottom. You can also hit exclamation point donate if you're in the YouTube chat. And Nightbot, which annoys the heck out of everybody, will also give you a link to the Ko-fi. You can also scan that QR code above our friend Reese head over there with your phone, and it will take you to the Ko-fi link so you can give us a couple bucks there if you can. If not, share the show. Please enjoy the content. Share it because we're suppressed to shit. Again, we had Jesse Jet and Jess on last week. That was incredible. I love them to death. Phenomenal people. Just the best, amazing people.
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
It was very nice of them to appear. So we are on our way with the Zagel Brothers illustrations. We're at 20% collected there. And we've hooked him up with everything we've gotten so far, pretty much. And we want to give him more. So anything you can do to help us out with that, we really appreciate. Okay. Oh, this is a new slide that I decided to add in case you did not know where all of our links are. And again, they're in this ticker. You can go to INN or indienews.network or inn.network.com to find INN on all these different channels. YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, even Odyssey, which backs up to YouTube. If they ever blow out our YouTube, all the clips are on Odyssey. Telegram. We're actually live on my Telegram channel, but we have a Telegram group and a Telegram channel that feeds all the tweets from all the members, as well as, I think, the INN newsletter. And then Twitter. Follow us there at Get Indie News. Get Indie News. We couldn't get indienews.network or Indie News Network or INN or whatever. So hook us up, follow us over there, and stay in touch everywhere. We try to be on every platform in case we get censored. So,
yeah.
First story. Oh, God. I'm sorry
Share
to
your
do
screen
this.
with me.
I'm sorry to
Hopefully
do
you
this
that.
to everyone, but I'm going to have to. Let's share my screen with Reef. Here you go. Okay. I'm sorry to do this to everyone and show you her photo. Everybody who watches this show basically knows who this is. Hiss, boo. Okay, everybody. Yes, we have to follow it with a hissing sound or some kind of noise-making sound. We're talking about Victoria Nuland. Well, she got a new job this week. I think I might have even predicted that she was going to end up either at USAID or NED, and we were right. How about that?
Boo this man!
Okay, so NED. He goes to the board of NED. This is Jeremy Kuzmarov. It's actually appeared in Covert Action magazine, which has been around a long time. And Jeremy is a good writer over there. Well, I think he's the editor or the editor-in-chief. So he gets into this and says that on September 13th, the National Endowment for Democracy, boo, announced that it was appointing Victoria Nuland to its board of directors effective immediately. She did not have to stay out of the game long. She resigned as the assistant secretary. Here, there we go. Covert geopolitics.
Assistant to the regional manager?
Something like that. No, she was acting deputy secretary of state. She was basically like right underneath Blinken. Covert Geopolitics has called her the Queen of the Chicken Hawks and Lady Macbeth of Perpetual War, as she has promoted a foreign policy of intervention, coups, proxy wars, aggression,
Not to be confused with cacao.
In Afghanistan, Iraq.
Right, it's a bird joke. It's a bird joke. You joke about birds.
Keep listening to what little birds have to tell you, man.
Exactly. Iraq lobster, Libya, Syria, and of course Ukraine.
Of course, Nuland served as acting deputy secretary of state from July of 2023 to February of 24, under secretary of state for political affairs from 21 to 24, and the assistant secretary of state for European and Eurasian affairs from 13 to 17. As well as the U.S. ambassador to NATO from 05 to 08, and as an advisor to Dick Cheney during the Iraq conflict.
Of course.
Okay, naturally.
Of course.
Oh, Cowboy Kitty's got it right. Birds aren't real, Reef. That's right.
Yeah.
Her husband, very famously, is Robert Kagan. He co-founded PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, in 1998, around a demand for regime change in Iraq, a project that was accomplished in 2003 with President George W. Bush's invasion. Disturbingly, which that's a great word to describe anything she does, Nuland expressed glee at one of the greatest acts of environmental terrorism in history, the bombing and destruction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, telling Congress that, quote, I am, and I think the administration is, very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea. Well, not quite, but they did some... That's a lot of damage. In February... What?
They let the boot, though.
Yep. Das
They forgot their boot.
Yes, they certainly did. But in a February 2024 interview with CNN, advocating for congressional approval of another $95 billion for Ukraine, Nuland remarked, quote, "We have to remember that the bulk of this money is going right back into the U.S. to make those weapons," unquote. Basically, she was announcing her support for war profiteering.
Yep.
And using the Ukrainians to shoot at and become cannon fodder for the Russians to expend those weapons to do so. Okay? There's the Queen Warmonger herself and her husband, Robert Kagan. The neocon power couple, a 1-2 punch for the military-industrial complex, as described by Jeremy. Founded in the 1980s to do overtly what the CIA had done for decades covertly, the NED is a nonprofit corporation funded by Congress that specializes in mobilizing activist networks and advancing disinformation in countries targeted by the United States for regime change. The conservatism of the NED has been evident in its appointment to its board of leading war hawks like Henry Kissinger, thank God he's finally gone, Frank Carlucci, who was Ronald Reagan's defense secretary, Zbigniew Brzezinski, I believe that's Mika's father, Joe and Mika. Then you've got current CIA director William Burns.
Not to be confused with
Bill Burns.
Zdzislaw Brzezinski.
No.
Famous horror artist.
Yes. Current CIA director Bill Burns, who used to be on the Russia desk, Francis Fukuyama, and Paul Wolfowitz. Paul Wolfowitz also.
I know him.
Yeah, we know who he is pretty well.
Wolfishits.
Wolfie. Nuland, of course, fits very well within this crowd, particularly as a key architect of one of the greatest humanitarian disasters in modern history, the Ukraine War, which NED and the neocon establishment has fervently championed. How about that? Neocons?
How about that?
And corporate Democrats? And Joe Biden, because his son was on the Burisma board? How about, and Yats is we're going to talk about that. So this was an NED conference that happened in Poland, where they had talked about, a Russophobic right-wing government championed by the U.S. that underplayed Poland's role in the Holocaust. And Applebaum is another raving psycho neocon. She's married to the current Polish foreign minister. I think that's the guy who tweeted out, hey, no, that was the Norwegian guy. Congratulations. Not the Polish guy. Jeremy continues that these same leaders allowed foreign corporations to take control over their economy and imposed a neoliberal economic program that resulted in the slashing of social services, attacks on organized labor, and declining living standards compounded egregiously now by the war. That would never happen now. All right. Robert Parry, Consortium News, wrote that to sell this neocon-driven regime change to the American people, the ugliness of the coup makers had to be systemically airbrushed, particularly the role of neo-Nazis and other ultranationalists from the right sector. Talking about Ukraine there. Of course, we know that Nuland herself was present at the scene of the Maidan Square protests with U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt, and famously handed out cookies.
Cookies!
And then, of course, we've heard the audio where she turns around and says she's in a conversation with Pyatt, featuring her bad-mouthing the EU and choosing Arseniy Yatsenyuk as Ukraine's first post-coup leader. Even though he had almost zero support among the Ukrainian people, Yats is the guy. That's a very famous thing that she said, sounding very much like a proconsul from a past age of colonialism, in which the native viewpoint did not count. All the while, she professed to be leading a glorious democratic revolution, working with neo-Nazis and the ultra-nationalists from right sector. And she had basically hand-appointed their first quote-unquote president, who was actually a dictator. She also handpicked Zelensky, by the way. That, by the way, is Yats on the left. Everybody hears Yats is the guy. Okay. Few people know what he looks like. That's Yats. And then you've got where Nuland is actually handing out cookies. All right, right there. Like literally, with the Ukraine flag behind her. Just disgusting, disgraceful people. I also want to mention that the other potential for who was going to be the first president instead of Yats was standing right behind her or right near her. It was Vitaly Klitschko. That was the other potential that they were going to use as the puppet instead of either Yats or Zelensky down the road.
Okay.
Right. Robert Parry, again, pointed out that Nuland's conduct in Ukraine resembled her husband Robert's and other neocons' conduct with respect to Iraq. Wow, that's a shock, right? Guy she sleeps next to.
Right.
In both cases, a complete disregard for local political considerations and history led to the unleashing of ethnic conflict, with the U.S. supporting elements in Ukraine that had fought the Russians in collaboration with the Nazis during World War II. Well, we
Are
also...
you fucking kidding me?
Huh? We've been working with the Nazis during post-World War II for the space program, so no, I'm not fucking kidding you.
What's up with that? What's up with that?
They did a very good job of taking out a lot of Russians. I believe 15 million of them in World War II. So that's what's up with that. The NED engages in a form of social engineering that helps trigger uprisings and revolutions in many countries that often lead to civil wars. Now, again, why do we have so many refugees? Because of organizations like NED that are funded by Congress as a nonprofit. Now, not-for-profit
They
doesn't...
would never do that. They would never... No.
Krish.
Not-for-profits would never be... They would always be above board.
Benevolent and never nefarious whatsoever. And absolutely, in the case of quote-unquote spreading democracy, sure... in many cases, it pits young people seduced by the allure of consumerism and an idealized view of Western democracy. God, that sounds like an Aaron Sorkin play.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Democracy simply doesn't work.
Right. With older, more established generations committed to preserving their country's sovereignty from Western neocolonialism and to securing a stronger social safety net. That's the socialism.
How about new?
Well, overseas, but we keep mucking it up because capitalism. Capitalism. Which you're going to need a bunch later tonight.
Capitalism.
That one, yes, when you get that queued up. Now, as one example, the NED and Nuland were very active in triggering a youth revolt in Belarus against the socialist regime of Alexander Lukashenko, which had been praised by even the World Bank for resisting neoliberal economic policies that fueled vast inequality levels in much of Western Europe and Eastern Europe, right? Yep. So every time they try to resist Western influence or Western interference, they end up getting cooed and Victoria Nuland shows up. I remember she showed up famously in Venezuela.
Funny how that works.
She showed up in Venezuela the year before Maduro's election.
Yep.
In a statement announcing her appointment to NED's board, you had the NED director, Damon Wilson, another Count Smugula in waiting. He stated that, quote, as NED partners face increasing threats from autocrats around the world, Ambassador Nuland's experiences will help the endowment sharpen its approach to supporting democracy advocates. You mean regime change advocates that will overthrow any type of social movement forward for the people that will not exploit their resources to Western capitalistic interests. Yes. Her lifelong commitment to quote-unquote democracy, holy shit, will be a valuable addition to the NED board at this consequential moment for our mission. Light is dark, dark is light. This is the CIA's nonprofit. So what do you expect? Gaslighting extraordinaire, du jour. Nuland, of course, however. Yeah, right. Of course, Kuzmarov is going to correct the record here. Nuland, however, was never committed to democracy in Ukraine, but to imposing leaders who served U.S. imperial interests. Same is true for Iraq and Libya and Syria. Syria. Where U.S. military and covert operations that she championed empowered Islamic fundamentalists and warlords, because that works out for her.
Yep.
All right.
We're just innocent men.
No, they're not. Significantly, Nuland began her State Department career in the 90s working on Russia-related issues under Strobe Talbot, the Clinton administration's point man in Russia, who oversaw a U.S. campaign to support Russian Prime Minister Boris Yeltsin's re-election in 1996. Spinning Boris. All right. That's a Time Magazine story. All right. Time Magazine proudly proclaimed Yanks to the rescue, the secret story of how American advisors helped Yeltsin win. Go ahead.
Now, riddle me this, Batman. Wouldn't that be called foreign influence of an election? Wouldn't that be what that's called?
We don't do that, Reeve. No.
What do you mean?
It's providing assistance to a candidate. Come on, man.
Okay.
We're just providing assistance and marketing support. Inconceivable. Bless you.
I'm allergic to bullshit.
Bottom line is that Nuland, of course, has never championed real democracy, which must develop organically in any society. I agree with Jeremy there. She's a great fit for NED because of her brazenly colonialist worldview and support for social engineering projects in the service of the U.S. empire, which have made a mess of many countries around the world. And this is Jeremy Kuzmarov. This is Too Hot for the Media, THTM. And
Too Hot to Trot.
It's also at covertactionmagazine.com.
Too hot to go? Hot to go? What?
Talking shit about Victoria Nuland, warmonger extraordinaire, and her husband are definitely reasons why we get censored and demonetized and deplatformed off of TikTok. But there are ways that you can find us and support us. The best way to do it, that's always helpful, is that Cash App link up there. Also going to innnewsletter.com and signing up either for a monthly or annual subscription or even for free. And you'll find out daily all the stuff that we're up to. Articles, clips, live streams for that day. You get a weekly update as well. If Jesse puts out something new once in a while, I put that out. Any kind of special interview, like the Eva Bartlett interview that we had with, for Reef and Colin. Eva Bartlett. So that went up. Rob Durden did a special podcast that he put out to his Rumble, and I grabbed that and I put that out to the newsletter as well. So we're trying to feature different members and everything that everybody's up to. Any appearances that we make, and we're going to talk about my appearances this week. I was all over the place, kind of. And then, of course, all the different channels and all the different places where you can find INN right there. You get INNnewsletter.com, YouTube, Rumble. You have to hit the /C/Any News Network, which is weird. Kick.com. Yeah. Do you know how big Kick is? That Kick is the third largest streaming platform behind YouTube and Twitch, where we also are at twitch.tv/Catching up. Indie News Network. Rumble also.
I think we're number 2 in the news category, I do believe, right behind Hardlands.
Nice.
So
we're on our way. 44 subs so far. Kick.com.
Number 2 news agency in all of Kyrgyzstan.
All of Uzbekistan. Well, now T-Lab is going, so he'll pass us in about 3 days, I'm sure. All right.
3 seconds, yeah.
X.com/GetAnyNews, Twitter.com, and then you've got Telegram, the Telegram channel as well. Yeah. So next.
Yeah.
Before we do that, do. We can do. Oh, Anna's putting up a request here. Please help fams if you can. Personally going into oral surgery tomorrow. Not covered by insurance, so out of the donation game to cover the cost. That's okay. We totally
have to do the same.
Yep. We that dental stuff is so expensive. Like we don't all need to have our teeth taken care of.
$1,000 to remove one wisdom tooth. That is a normal procedure that most people have to go through.
Insane.
What?
Insane.
Ridiculous.
Namaste.
Oh.
Welcome. How are you, sir? Good to see Steve Gill. We got Heidi here. Hi, Heidi. And Angel. Did not know that Nuland worked for Cheney. Yeah, that was in... I'm guessing that might have even been where she met her husband, Hagen, working with Cheney.
Mm.
All right. And then we got good Golden Monarch. Golden Monarch, again, still on fire over on the Substack. Go read what he's been writing. It's really important. All about the crypto and all about what a scam the crypto is and what they're up to and how they're playing games. Now, real estate is trying to get in on the crypto game, and you've got to read all about that.
Mm.
All right. Jeff Thomas Black. We're gonna talk about your piece a little bit later tonight, Jeff, for a few minutes. I've got it cut up in a couple slides. And of course, our buddy, Mr. Cowboy Kitty, and the super sharer extraordinaire, Fred Edward. Round of applause for Fred Edward. We love you, Fred Edward. Thank you. Really appreciate you, brother. All right. I got another one, of course.
You?
This one is from an Indie Media Award honoree, Declassified UK. And I have heard nobody, and I mean nobody, talk about this story. It was written this week, but it's not the first time Matt Kennard has talked about this. U.S. special operations flights to Israel from UK's Cyprus base are surging under Keir Starmer. Starmer sucks. He really, really sucks.
He really, really sucks.
Secrecy surrounds unmarked American military planes going from UK territory to Israel, but new information could further implicate Labour ministers in war crimes. I mean, not like the ICJ has any teeth or any kind of jurisdiction or is actually going to do anything, but it's nice to know that something can happen. Here's your two genocide warmongers right there. Okay, that was...
As they look lovingly into each other's eyes.
Biden's
one grasps the other one on the penis.
Biden's is this David Cameron? Who's this guy sitting next to me? Huh? Is it time for ice cream yet?
What is going on here?
All right. So, in quick bullet points, you've got Labour's Ministry of Defense refusing to provide any details of secret American flights. That's normal. U.S. Special Forces having flown an average of once a week to Israel from the UK base on Cyprus under Labour. And American commandos are actively helping the Israelis with their assault on Gaza. I didn't think we were allowed to do that.
Allegedly, they're supposedly helping with something. Max put something out today on that.
Yep.
I do believe we're going to be hands-on.
Yes, boots on the ground.
To operate missile defense.
Correct. All right.
That's what it was.
U.S. Special Forces flights to Israel from a British airbase have doubled in frequency since Keir Starmer took over from Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister, it can be revealed. Yeah, the anti-war, quote-unquote, lefty Brits, right? They took over from the Tories. At least 13 planes used by Special Forces, nearly all of them unmarked, have gone from Britain's sprawling airbase on Cyprus to Israel since Labour took office on July 5th. This works out to an average of one a week since Starmer won the election. Now, if you had watched AM Wake Up on Tuesday with Steve and I, we went through a list. I love that he chose me to be on the show to go through this list because he said he'd been sitting on it for weeks. And it was the 15 most influential Jews in the world by the Jerusalem Post. And number 47 sleeps next to Keir Starmer. So they're,
of course they do.
So their clear policy now, number 1 was Doug Emhoff, by the way. So their now strategy is to not necessarily go for the world leaders, but for the people sleeping next to the world leaders for the influence without actually having to be held accountable. Nice.
Yep.
Anyway, during Labor's first month in office, 4 CN-235 planes made the 340-kilometer journey from Royal Air Force Base in Akrotiri to Tel Aviv. In August, 5 made the 50-minute flight. October has already seen 3 such flights to Israel, which flew last Thursday, as well as Sunday and on Tuesday. 2 of these flights were marked as U.S. Air Force for the first time, because now the mask is fully off. They don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
The majority of flights stayed in Israel for around 2 hours before flying back to Akrotiri. It is not known what they were dropping off or picking up, because that's special forces. My guess is men and troops. It has, however, previously...
I mean, you're missing out on the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, it has...
Clearly, that's what's in there.
Previously been revealed that the U.S. is using Akrotiri to deliver weapons to Israel. So that's likely what was on CN-235s.
Yeah.
All right. 1 U.S. plane stayed overnight in Tel Aviv on August 2nd before flying back to Cyprus, while another on July 16th took off from Akrotiri at 1:10 a.m. and returned back from Israel at 6:58 in the morning.
Okay.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. It's 50 minutes in flight time, so it was on the ground for about 4 hours, and then flew back. All right. Under the previous conservative government, Declassified could only verify 18 similar U.S. flights that went from Akrotiri to Israel over the 9 months after October 7th, before Labor took power, which means that's every other week.
Okay.
Now it's been stepped up to every week.
Yeah.
But we're not arming them for their genocide or anything. No. Shh.
No.
To bend the wind.
The UK government has long refused to give any details of the US use of British territory to support the Israeli assault on Gaza, but Declassified independently constructed a timeline. They've got to have somebody either on the inside or nearby that's watching. That would be my guess. And what we're told is no comment, of course. All right. The new information could further implicate British ministers in war crimes in Gaza, not like they're not already fully guilty of war crimes in Gaza. In November of 2023, a U.S. military official revealed that American special forces were stationed in Israel and actively were helping the Israelis. Again, November 2023, this is no secret. They had been flying in every 2 weeks. ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan has requested arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Okay. I think Smotrich and Ben-Gvir should also be included there too. I'm sure it's a matter of time. The World Court is also investigating Israel for what it has called a plausible genocide in Gaza. Plausible.
Diplomatic community.
How many more fucking bombs do they need to drop in order to prove that? Most of the U.S. planes show that they were recently at Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is home to Fort Liberty. Keep that name in mind. The largest U.S. Army base by population with nearly 50,000 active duty soldiers. Now, Fort Liberty used to be called Fort Bragg, which is home to First Special Forces Command. Okay, also home to Delta, which assigns, equips, trains, certifies, and validates Army Special Ops soldiers and units to conduct global operations. Allegedly.
Yep.
Right.
Allegedly.
But no, it actually used to be called Fort Bragg, and now it's called Fort
Bragg.
Liberty. That's not allegedly. That's real. That's fact.
It's only in Tom Clancy novels that it's Fort Bragg, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Pentagon says this unit is the most adaptable.
Grisham novels.
No, Clancy, not Grisham. Pentagon says that this unit is the most adaptable and capable enabling force in the entire United States military. I would guess that there's some Marines that would argue with that, but that's another story for another day.
Well, as long as they can get their crayons in order, they should be able to figure that out once they're done.
But
the
UK Ministry of Defense would provide no details about U.S. flights going from Cyprus to Israel. They have no reason to. A spokesperson told Declassified, for operational security reasons and as a matter of policy, the Ministry of Defense does not offer comment or information relating to any foreign nations' military aircraft movements or operations. Yeah. So let's hear
Not without money. You had money, we would tell you.
No, you wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
No, they wouldn't.
You say that.
They're under control by U.S. and Israeli forces. They're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But the CN-235 is produced by Airbus and believed to be used by the 427 Special Operations Squadron, which has been described as the Air Force's most secretive squadron and is based, of course, at Fort Liberty, formerly Bragg. That's what one of the unmarked planes looks like, by the way. I went and I got a shot of that. I looked it up. That one actually has markings on it, though. It has numbers, but it does not say USAF, which some of them now do.
Right.
After a reporter filed a FOIA request, the Air Force told him that the unit supports training requirements for infiltration and exfiltration, a reference to the covert deployment and extraction of special forces behind enemy lines. Where are the enemy lines?
We're going deep and we're going hard.
But where are the enemy lines? Because you're going from RAF in London to Cyprus to Israel.
Yeah. Cyprus, maybe?
Well, there was also word, and this is an alleged thing that we're trying to get confirmation on, of some type of a hacking attack. I saw in the Hardlands Discord server yesterday, somebody tagged me and said that somebody had claimed that there was a major hack inside Iran and that a lot of systems were down, but they couldn't confirm that.
Number one Russian hacker.
Yeah, that. So looking at this aircraft, the aircraft's primary military roles include maritime patrol, surveillance. We could be doing surveillance of Lebanon or Israel or Syria, or air transport, bringing them weaponry. It can carry 70 military personnel or 48 paratroopers.
Do a barrel roll.
No, don't do that. Not in that. You see the size of that thing? Dude, you do a barrel roll in that, everything's going to flip upside down. Roll. You better secure that shit. Look at how many props are on that? Is that a 4-propper? Jesus.
You can do it, dude. You just got to believe.
You got 2 jets plus a prop. Jeez, that's... Okay.
Yeah, dude, you'll be fine.
In February of 2023, an unmarked CN-235 went to Eastern Europe to support Joe Biden's trip to Ukraine and Poland. That's, I believe, where this shot comes from Poland.
Okay.
This plane that Matt's talking about arrived at the USAF base in Britain, RAF Mildenhall in Suffolk on February 17th, where it spent the night before leaving for Poland the following day, refueling. One journalist noted that sporting a single-tone slate gray livery, this rare, secretive, aircraft wore no identifiable national markings, air arm unit insignia, or serial number details. I saw a serial number on that tail, but all the other stuff I see there. But the serial number of the U.S. plane at Mildenhall eventually was located and is the same as the plane that has flown from Akrotiri to Israel multiple times since March. Huh.
Funny how that works.
That's weird, huh? Weird.
That's weird.
Now, CN-235 has also flown from Akrotiri to the Sigonella Naval Air Station, operated by the U.S. military in, of course, Italy, twice under labor. The flights went on September 23rd and August 31st. How are they getting these flight logs? I don't know, but they're figuring it out. NAS Sigonella is the Navy's second largest security command, second only to its base in Bahrain. All right. Under Starmer, numerous U.S. military transport flights have also arrived from Turkey and Germany. 4 U.S. military-operated C-130J Hercules have arrived from Adana, Turkey, under the new Labor administration. It's possible they were carrying weapons for Israel. Sounds like a lot of equipment's going over there.
Possible.
And the people to operate them, too.
Ugh.
Adana is home to the Incirlik Air Base, which is a major U.S. facility with 5,000 American personnel. If only Erdogan would throw us out of there one of these days. Well, they're part of NATO. It's probably not going to happen, but a man can dream. The Hercules, that can carry 128 combat troops and almost 20,000 kilograms of cargo. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
A Ministry of Defense spokesperson told Declassified that it's standard practice for the MOD to routinely authorize requests for limited numbers of allies and partners to access the UK's air bases. Yeah, standard practice. Any use of the sovereign base areas on Cyprus by other nations would be in line with UK policy for evacuation humanitarian purposes only, because they're definitely evacuating the people of Gaza for humanitarian purposes, right?
For real? Damn, it must be true.
The DOD did not respond. The U.S. DOD did not respond to a request for comment. I'm shocked. Shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And these two, by the way, that guy down on the left is the guy who wrote the article. That's Matt Kennard. To the right, that's Mark Curtis. The two of them are the co-founders of Declassified UK, Indie Media Award honorees, class of 22. One of the best independent outlets in the world. They've been reporting on stuff that nobody wants to touch. Original stories for years. Give them a follow. Give them a support. At declassifieduk.org, you see the website there. They're certainly demonetized and they're user-funded. And guess what? We're user-funded too. And thank you to all the people that do that, like Anna, like John H., like Sean Miller that gave twice this week. Thank you again so much, Sean. Thank you. Keeping us afloat, man. I swear we're gonna have to build a wing in the INN Hall of Fame for Sean Miller.
Whoever you are, thank you.
Cash.app/Indie News Net, $, Indie News Network. Gotta have the $sign in there. You can scan the QR code, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. You can get there that way. PayPal, Rumble, go to INNnewsletter.com, and you can subscribe monthly or annually over there. All the different places that you can find and connect with Indie News Network, INN. You've got all of them there. INN Newsletter, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitter. And of course, all those links can be found at indienews.network, INDIE news.network or INN.network. Get there either way. I think INN.network still works. Oh, you know what? Before we get to that, let's check in with the fams, see how everybody's doing. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cynic is here. My fams. Yay, Cynic. Yes, ew, ew, ew. I know that was because I put up the picture of Joe Biden and Starmer. Fuck Starmer. Kareem Khan? No, I don't. You're thinking of Lena Khan. No, Kareem Khan is the guy from the ICC Golden Monarch who, he's leading the investigation into the genocide stuff. They threatened him and his family to basically keep his mouth shut. All right. CBC voter, good to see you. Jeff Black, peace, my friend. All right. That's a great sound clip, though. Thank you, Existentials. That's Steak over there, our friend Steak, usually over on the Twitters. Star Fox 64.
Yeah, Existential Steaks on Kick.
Nice, Existential Steaks.
Yeah, that's from the Do a Barrel Roll.
Nice. Star Fox.
You never played Star Fox. You don't know.
You are absolutely correct. There's a spinner. All right.
Yep, little Charmander.
Little Charmander.
Doing it up.
That's one of my boys' favorites.
Yep. It's a good choice.
Let's make donor backs to the tank, sit some angel wing with some angel wings. Okay. We're gonna have to work on some merch.
Who's that Pokemon?
Oh my God, Cynic. Yeah, we're gonna get to that story next. Holy crap, that's one of the most infuriating stories I've read all year. This goes into the holy shit capitalism. Fuck you. All right. That's gonna be there. What else is happening? Nobody's watching over on Rumble. Rumble, I think that you're lying. Rumbers! Listen, we had a bunch of good stuff happen on Rumble today. Chris Pavlovsky is the CEO of Rumble, and he got called out by a gamer who said that you guys, I've been here like every day and supporting your platform and amplifying it and championing it, and you guys don't do shit for gamers. You're not doing shit. Your app doesn't work when you have really long streams and you can't watch it. It's unwatchable on mobile. He came up with a laundry list of things, and it sounded a lot like me ranting and raving about Rumble's issues. And to his credit, Chris Pavlovsky immediately took action and started listening to what this guy had said. The first thing was, how come Rumble only tweets about politics from its main account? Why don't they have a Rumble gaming account that talks about gaming stuff? To their credit,
That nobody gives a fuck.
well, a few people do. This guy does. Gamers certainly care. And speaking of gamer, one of these days we're going to shout out to our friend Gamer and Ganja for life. He'll be back one of these days. He's doing okay, last I heard. He was in the chats. I saw him in somebody's comments somewhere. Anyway, so not only they set up a Rumble Gaming channel or Rumble Gaming YouTube or Twitter, they also are going to have regular town hall meetings with Chris to talk about how they can improve the experience for gamers. But I thought it was just cool that he was listening to a small creator. That guy only has about 3,500 followers on that platform. He says he streams 6 days a week for 6 to 7 hours a day. Plus he does a political stream. Plus he does book reads. Like, this guy is doing a ton of content, and he says he barely makes enough to pay for his internet bill. I felt awful. I felt terrible. Oh, great. My stream deck's frozen again. All right.
How did you do that?
I don't know. Did it do? Yeah, now it's all frozen. Okay. Well, we'll go to this next.
Gotta take a second and refresh it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Exit out and turn it back on.
That's the one. Help me, Jesus. Now we got it. All right. Before we get to the wheelchair story that Cynic teased, we're going to get to some of the horrors inflicted this week by Israel. And earlier tonight, you heard Jesse Jett's prayer for the Promised Land, which was especially fitting on Yom Kippur yesterday. And I was tweeting that out to everyone. But UN peacekeepers, the Irish peacekeepers in Lebanon, are now being fired upon by Israel because they don't give a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Well, we do, but attacking UN personnel and property is a major violation of international humanitarian law. You mean another major violation of international humanitarian law, said the foreign minister of Indonesia. This is Jake Johnson, Common Dreams, a Indie Media Award honoree. I've got a couple of different honorees and 3 components to this, of which the third is a horrifying but really important video I want everyone to see. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday joined human rights organizations and the foreign ministers of major countries in condemning the Israeli military's targeting of UN peacekeeping forces stationed in Lebanon, where Israel has already killed more than 2,000 people in bombings and ground attacks in recent weeks. This incident is intolerable and cannot be repeated, said a man who's been watching his people killed for an entire year. After this interim peacekeeping force in Lebanon, the UNIFIL, an international body of more than 10,000 military and civilian personnel from dozens of countries, issued a statement accusing Israel of deliberately targeting the operation's positions. It doesn't have to accuse them. They did it, and they'll gladly admit it.
Yeah.
UNIFIL has been present in southern Lebanon since 1978. It's not like they just got there. On Thursday, UNIFIL said 2 peacekeepers were injured after an IDF Merkava tank fired its weapon toward an observation tower at UNIFIL's headquarters in Nakura, directly hitting it and causing them to fall. The 2 injured soldiers were from Indonesia, hence the statement from the ambassador to Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay. Indonesia strongly condemns the attack, said Retno Marsudi, the country's foreign affairs minister. Attacking UN personnel and property is a major violation of international humanitarian law. What about the World Central Kitchen workers? What about all the other UNRWA workers in the last year?
Yeah, but also do fucking something. Anything.
How about kick out the Israeli ambassador at minimum? Global outrage soon followed. With
all these people get are fucking strongly worded letters.
Yep. Top diplomats, here you go. Top diplomats of Spain, France, Italy, China, Turkey, and other nations strongly issued condemning statements, strongly worded. Great.
Diplomatic community.
Yeah, right? The U.S., which is Israel's top ally and arms dealer, offered a more muted response. How generous. With the Biden White House saying it was deeply concerned by the attack, while repeating Israel's claim, of course, that it is conducting targeted operations against Hezbollah, the Lebanese paramilitary group and political party. Oh yeah, they're a political party. Asked about an attack during a briefing on Thursday, another critter, Pentagon Press Secretary Patrick Ryder, said he would refer you to the IDF to talk about their operations in that regard. Fucking coward. Israel's attack on the peacekeeping force came after the IDF requested that UNIFIL relocate from the Israel-Lebanon border, a request the UN mission denied. How about fuck off? That's not your territory, Israel, as much as you want to think it is. Like you're Israeling that too. The peacekeepers are currently staying in their position, all of them. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, UN Undersecretary General for Peace Operations, told reporters last week. The parties have an obligation to respect the safety and security of peacekeepers, and I want to insist on that. Why don't they throw Israel out of the UN at this point? They're murdering UN personnel. Yet their diplomat can sit there and go, diplomatic immunity. Fucking garbage.
just been revoked.
I wish. Israel has killed UN personnel in unprecedented numbers since late last year, not allegedly, but actually, mostly in Gaza. HRW, Human Rights Watch, on Friday demanded an urgent international... No, not HR Puffin stuff. Human Rights Watch on Friday demanded an urgent international probe of Israel's attack on peacekeepers in Lebanon, calling it again an apparent violation of the laws of war, which Israel never follows. You can see that by the mass torture and rape of Palestinian men and children.
Clearly, international law does not apply to them.
Quote,
clearly.
With over 2,000 people killed and over 1 million people displaced in Lebanon since mid-September. Oh yeah, that's in Lebanon since mid-September, a sovereign country that does not belong to them. It's crucial for UNIFIL to be allowed to fulfill its civilian protection and humanitarian functions. Attacks on UNIFIL not only impede the peacekeeping forces' work, but also the ability of civilians in the south to access much-needed humanitarian aid. Which is the whole point. Israel is taking out hospitals. They're taking out doctors and nurses. They're taking out schools. Yep. They're taking out roads and infrastructure. They are trying to dismantle the systems that allow societies to function, which degrades them into squalor and hunger and starvation and death.
Burning
and disease.
First aid tents. IV patients burned alive, children, women.
That happened today. All right.
Like,
again, Common Dreams members. That's Craig Brown, founding member on the top. On the right is managing editor John Quayle. Doesn't like to be in the limelight much. You got Julia Conley on the left and Brett Wilkins down at the bottom. Those are a couple of the staff writers over there. They do a lot of really, really good work, support independent media. They are Indie Media Award honoree 2022. But of course, we have to continue to report, and we cannot let up on reporting on just how many journalists Israel has been murdering, as well as the doctors.
Bad things are happening.
As well as the doctors and the infrastructure and the ambulance drivers and the relief aid workers and they're also murdering the truth tellers, the people who can get the story out. Kevin Gosztola, yet another Indie Media Award honoree from the Dissenter. U.S.-backed Israeli military forces, and we have to start calling them U.S.-backed Israeli military forces. I love the way he writes that and frames that.
Yeah, U.S.-backed Israeli terrorists. We can just make it that now.
Have executed numerous journalists since October 7th. Numerous, that's right. And executed is definitely an accurate word. The Israeli military...
I mean, what? Do we just go straight to radical Jewish terrorism? Is that what we do? We make them say that and it's all better now?
No, because Judaism... No, radical Zionist terrorism, maybe.
Yes.
If you really want to get there.
Just like radical Wahhabist. Yes.
Okay. The Israeli military campaign of genocidal violence carried out with the full support of President Joe Biden's administration has killed 138 to 175 plus journalists. Again, Kevin Gosztola. This is this week also. The remains of journalist Hassan Hamad and his press jacket that he wore. That's all that's left to bury of him. Disgusting.
They're having to literally weigh bags of flesh to amount to average human, is from what I've been hearing.
Yep.
So.
Yep. On October 6th, Israeli military forces reportedly targeted and killed Hassan Hamad, a 19-year-old Palestinian journalist in Gaza, in his home in the Jabalia refugee camp. I mean, his home. Literally a tent. Maha Husseini, a Middle East Eye reporter in Deir al-Baha in the occupied Palestinian territories, reported that Hamad had received threatening phone calls and text messages months ago. Hamad had been covering an attack by Israeli troops on a residential home when he returned to his bedroom around dawn. It's clear that a shell was fired directly and specifically at his bedroom to intentionally target him, said Ashraf Mashwari, who manages the Mediatown production company where Hamad worked. As Mahashwari told Middle East Eye, his colleague had taken many photos and videos that had made headlines. Apparently, this bothered, of course, the Israelis, and the fact that his coverage had gained attention. Anytime anyone gains attention or exposes just what they're doing, they're targeted. Barry Malone, the deputy editor-in-chief for the Thomson Reuters Foundation, responded that he just saw the remains of Palestinian journalist Hassan Hamad returned to a plastic bag and a shoebox, reduced to a plastic bag and a shoebox.
19.
According to a fresh
19
tally.
19 years old.
Yeah. According to a fresh tally from CPJ, 123 journalists have now been killed in Israeli strikes. If you're a journalist and you're not speaking out in solidarity, why? I think it's more than 123. People are saying over 200. I don't know if it's all necessarily airstrikes. Some of them were actually directly shot by Israeli forces. I think that's what they're talking about. But splitting hairs, they're killing all the truth tellers. And now they're doing it in Lebanon, too. A record number of journalists here have been killed, several of them targeted for execution. And this is why I wanted to bring this. Over the past year, and this is no surprise to anyone who's been watching this show and listening to our podcast, the Israeli military has carried out a campaign of genocidal violence with the full support of Joe Biden's administration, including a seemingly unlimited flow of weapons. Officials from the U.S. and Israeli governments asked the world to excuse the carnage because Palestinian fighters led by Hamas launched an attack a year ago, and to them, Hamas must be entirely eliminated. Yet a coalition of American medical professionals who volunteered in Gaza estimate that the death toll from this conflict is already greater than 118,908, which is an astonishing 5.4% of Gaza's population, unquote. We read that letter, and they issued a new letter to the president this week, again on October 12th. That estimate includes a record number of journalists killed, making it the deadliest conflict for members of the press ever. Ever. Only democracy in the Middle East, right, fam?
Yep.
By comparison, 56 journalists were killed in Iraq in 2006, which was the next deadliest year. CPJ's figure, and CPJ I am not really a big fan of, and they just erased a lot of Palestinian journalists and called them not journalists because they couldn't verify any agency they worked for. Independent journalists didn't count, which is bullshit. They count only 100.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
No, they may be shit, but they wouldn't acknowledge Julian Assange for years and had to be bullied and browbeaten into that too. Garbage.
Yep.
Reporters Without Borders also garbage on Assange, says, except for Rebecca from the Global, but U.S. Reporters Without Borders, shit, says that more than 130 journalists have been killed. At least 138 were killed, they claim, according to the IFJ. That's also the foundation that spoke out when Richard Medhurst got arrested. After Hamad's death on October 6th, the Gaza government media office reported that 175 journalists have been killed. It's not entirely clear why the number shared by CPJ, Reporters Without Borders, and IFJ is considerably lower, but it probably has something to do with how they verify whether someone was a working journalist or a media producer. Does it matter? 32 journalists, according to the information compiled by Reporters Without Borders, were clearly targeted for execution by the Israeli military. Again, not a surprise. One well-known example from Reporters Without Borders was that journalist Ismail Al-Ghul and cameraman Rami Al-Rifi were reporting for Al Jazeera in the Al-Shati refugee camp west of Gaza City when an Israeli strike targeted their car, killing them both on July 31st. Images released by their colleague, Anas al-Sharif, shortly after the strike at around 4 show that the reporters were killed inside a white car isolated in the middle of an empty street, visibly damaged by a direct hit.
Visibly with aid all over it, including the roof.
I don't think that this was the World
aid
Central
thing?
Kitchen. I don't think this is World Central Kitchen. I could be wrong. This is journalists. All right. They were wearing their press vests, according to information gathered by Reporters Without Borders. But the very next day, the Israeli army claimed to have targeted Ismail al-Ghul, accusing him of being Hamas.
Yeah.
An investigation by Reporters Without Borders into this claim showed that the evidence was insufficient and inadequate. But they're judge, jury, and executioner, literally. They don't give a shit.
Yep.
But not only have they killed the most journalists in a year ever, they've also detained the highest number of journalists in the world. And we had an incident with that with even American journalists this week. The Israeli government has also detained at least 69 Palestinian journalists, with 43 still in detention, according to CPJ. Most of the journalists detained are from the West Bank, and 10 journalists have been confined under an administrative detention law that allows for indefinite renewal of detention orders, held without charges indefinitely. At least 5 journalists have been allegedly tortured and abused, and we know that number has gone up. CPJ reported on a per capita basis, quote, Israeli authorities now hold the highest number of detained journalists in the world on a given year over the past 2 decades, followed by Turkey, Iran, and China. Bastions of freedom all.
Yep.
A censorship regime imposed by the Israeli government has prohibited nearly 4,000 journalists from entering Gaza to report on the war, and as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu encouraged, the country's legislature passed a law to ban foreign media organizations that are deemed a national security threat, quote unquote. Aha! That's what we had when it came to the Gray Zone and Jeremy Lafredo this week. They're perceived to be a national security threat because they report on Israel's war crimes that they broadcast themselves on TikTok.
Right.
The most prominent media organization to be banned was the Arabic news media organization Al Jazeera. In September, and we covered that here, Israeli soldiers illegally raided Al Jazeera's West Bank bureau and shut it down. But Lebanese broadcaster Al Mayadeen TV, Radio Dream, a local radio station in Hebron, and the West Bank-based J Media were all also ordered to cease their operations. Free speech, folks, right? Oh, no, they don't even claim to have free speech there. They know that they're propagandizing their people. You know, I always contend with Nick over at RBN, who claims that U.S. is the most propagandized people on earth. I say absolutely not. It's Israelis, no question to me. But to me, it's probably the same. A lot of the same producers, a lot of the same narratives, but they don't even purport to offer free speech, whereas we do. And then you've got Israeli communications minister, that's funny, Israeli propaganda minister Shlomo Karhai, who was behind the media center. Yep, who was behind the media.
I'll never not laugh at fucking Shlomo. What a shit name.
Well, he was behind the media censorship law that targeted Al Jazeera. He threatened to sanction the Israeli newspaper Haaretz for false propaganda that they published, that he had proposed a government resolution to block any new commercial agreements with the newspaper, halt all advertising in it, even if it's been paid for, and halt any outstanding payments from being made. But he backed away from that proposal after it was denounced and exposed. What a fucking piece of shit. So this is the next garbage minister that you've got to look out for, Karhai. So now that Smotrich is now probably going to be the next prime minister, I guess. He's probably going to run, and now he's trying to be the benevolent leader. You've got Ben-Gvir's the hardliner. Gallant, I believe, just resigned. And this guy now, Karhai, is going to step in. He's also a horrible warmonger.
Okay.
So now talking about destroying all the media institutions in Israel that might publish anything inconvenient to their narrative. Since October 7th, according to the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate, PJS, Israeli forces have destroyed all media institutions in the Gaza Strip. Airstrikes have demolished 73 media facilities, including 21 local radio stations, 15 local and international news agencies, 15 TV stations, 6 local newspapers, 3 broadcasting towers, 8 printing presses, and 13 journalistic service institutions.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Only democracy in the Middle East, right? They're all about freedom of expression, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Fuck Israel.
Oh.
PJS additionally recalled in the early days of the genocidal war on Gaza, the Israeli military targeted most of the high-rise buildings in Gaza that housed both local and international media offices. For example, Al-Shawa and Al-Hasiri towers in Gaza City, which contained 15 floors of media offices, were completely destroyed by an Israeli airstrike on December 18, 2023, causing extensive damage to the surrounding area and, of course, probably murdered a bunch of people in that building.
Yeah.
To combat the systemic attacks on journalists, IFJ helped PJS establish a media solidarity center in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. That's, of course, been bombed by the Israelis, too. It offered hundreds of Gaza journalists a way to deal with the lack of internet and other obstacles to reporting. God bless those people.
Yep.
Unions should see it as an act of solidarity rather than of charity, declared Eva Stabell of the Norwegian Union of Journalists, which supported the Media Solidarity Center. Press freedom is a global issue that concerns all journalists and media.
Who are these people?
Awesome. Journalist safety is a fundamental part of this freedom. IFJ Secretary Anthony Bellinger concluded, quote, "The vast majority of the world's media are effectively cut off from a huge news story whose daily horrors pass them by. That's the intent. Their only available sources are the journalists who are the members of the PJS and the IFJ who all take risks to film with and photograph with their phones. Like literally risks of being targeted and murdered by AI drones being operated by Unit 8200. See Rafe and Colin's segment on IN News about Lavender AI and Where's Daddy. You want to talk about horrific.
Yep. Pretty fucked up.
Gazan journalists are determined to tell their story, and for so long as that is the case, it is the IFJ's duty to support them doing this in whatever way we can. And thank you, Kevin, for writing this up. Kevin is also an Indie Media Award honoree for journalism. The Dissenter.org, independent, user-funded, support independent media. Go give him a monthly or annual subscription there if you can. You can also subscribe free. And yeah, big fan. Good dude. Okay, here's the third one. And this is, again, a very important 2-minute video that I brought. I showed this to Oz, showed this to Reef. Here, let me put on the sound for Reef, even though I know he's already heard it. This hit me really hard when I saw it. Whoa. What happened? Okay, let's go to the 2-shot. While I do that, yeah, I broke it.
Does your computer ever seem to have a mind of its own?
Nice. That's awesome. Now I lost my slideshow. Okay, there's the slideshow.
Everything is awesome.
Now we're back. Everything is cool when you're part of the team.
Cool when you're part of a team.
Don't get us hit by content.
Everything is awesome. But I had to. I mean,
we're living.
I had to sing it perfectly.
Okay. All right. I got it queued up. Let me full screen this.
messages.
You mean like that? And
Whatever.
let's do slideshow off. There we go. Now, watch this. This is called "Where Were You?" This is about Gaza about the Gaza.
Good afternoon, Seattle. Welcome to your afternoon newscast. We're here to bring you stories that matter most. Today marks the 16th anniversary of the tragic genocide. Commemorations are being held all around the world.
왜 아무것도 안 하셨어요?
Was hast du während des Völkermords gemacht, Großvater? Mais tout était devant vos yeux. Did you just watch it? وفي ماما بينما يقتل أطفال مسلمين.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. I thought it was important for everyone to see that and to put that into the show. And shout out to Jonathan Cook. Slideshow off. Slideshow on. Slideshow on. Cool.
Clap on.
Now, that was
Clap
shared by
off.
Jonathan Cook. I don't know if he made this. He produced it. It was uploaded natively to his Twitter and to his, I thought to his Substack, but it wasn't. Maybe on his website. I think he emailed it out to people. But I saw it, and at the time it had 141,000 views. It has a way more than that now. Well, we can say that we were actively fighting it and speaking out against it and doing what we could and protesting and calling it out. And
shout out places like Palestinian Action and all those people over in the UK actively doing that kind of stuff. You know, all the journalists, like plenty of people actively in the trenches here. So,
yep.
You know.
Jonathan Cook is also an Indie Media Award honoree from the inaugural class Journalist 2022. All right. So that was the third part of my how Israel is fucking up the world segment. And because we keep talking shit about Israel, we're demonetized and probably will never be remonetized on YouTube. Though my channel is youtube.com/INDLeftNews. You can leave a super chat there, but fuck YouTube. Don't give them any money. Leave it at Cash App. Leave it at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, PayPal. I don't even really want PayPal. Screw the PayPal mafia. Rumble, you can drop us a Rumble ramp. That's cool over there. Substack, you can sign up, INNnewsletter.com. All these amazing people have already contributed and helped out. Just this week, we had Anna, John, and Sean has already hooked us up. And all the different channels that you can find INN on are right there. You can find all of them at indienews.network or inn.network. Newsletter, YouTube, which you're probably watching on now, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey. Okay, you've got Telegram and Twitter, x.com/getindienews. But also, we're on Spotify, or at least our podcasts are on Spotify. So if you search How Do We Miss That, you can find us. American Tradition by Jesse Jett is also a podcast available on Spotify. We are on, we have, what else is on? Nobody Wants to Work Anymore actually is up as a podcast from last year. So if you ever want to check that out and go back and watch those old episodes, those are fun. All right. Well, we did get a contribution, of course, Sean the Accord Lord. Yes, he is single-handedly keeping our channel afloat. We love you so much. Thank you so much. He's the best. Sean hooks us up. He appreciates independent media, and has the means, thankfully, to do so, to support it. Yes. John H. is over on Kick. What's up over there? Kick.com/Indie News Network. We're on our way to 1 million. It's us, T-Lev, and Hardlens. We're going to do it all together, fam. We're going to do it together. All right. Yeah. I'm just checking out the chats. Yay, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin's one of the best. He's good peeps. Hold on, Monarch, man. That video really hit me hard. I'll tell you. Why didn't you do anything? Well, I don't necessarily think that that's us. But there's a lot of people that Aaron Bushnell, the words of Aaron Bushnell, absolutely Desert Mantis. Okay. If you want to know what you would have done during a Holocaust, you're doing it right now.
You're doing it now.
All right. Danny, social emotional learning with Dr. Donnie. Good to see you, sir. Woke up to cry. It's terrible. I'm sorry. Sorry to do that to you. Yeah, hopefully Anthony's getting hooked up. Cowboy Kitty over there. All right. So I've got one more story. The most infuriating story you will see all week. I can pretty much guarantee. All right. Here we go. Ricky, my buddy over at Council of State Media, put this one out the other day, and it fucking triggered me. Welcome to the stage of capitalism where we charge sick people to rent wheelchairs in a hospital. In a hospital. Ricky starts out and says, now my American friends are probably wondering what the big deal is here. Most of them don't even have health care. If they get sick, they're supposed to die quietly at the side of the road, but we in the UK are not quite so far gone. We're rapidly heading in that direction, though. Thank you, Nigel Farage. The NHS is about as safe in the hands of Wes Streeting as a hamster is in the coils of a hungry python, or in the hands of Richard Gere. Anybody know who that is? Am I too old for that?
Richard Gere.
Yeah.
He got seduced by Mrs. Robinson.
No, that's Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman. Who am I thinking of?
No, Richard Gere was the one that had the hamster up the butt. Anyway, Lemmy Winks.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Famously, allegedly, he denies it. Anyway, the fundamental.
What was he in?
A hamster up the butt is what people who are in wheelchairs in the UK feel like. Oh, he was in Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Yep.
Yeah. American Gigolo.
He was also in the one
Runaway
with
Bride, Officer and a Gentleman.
Edward Norton. He played the lawyer. Primal Fear. Oh,
Unfaithful,
he was so good in Primal Fear. And he was in one with
Chicago.
He was in an infuriating movie where he that was pathetic, the Shall We Dance movie, but I'm sure it made him a ton of money. Anyway, I didn't want to talk about Richard Gere. I want to talk about wheelchairs. The fundamental idea of the NHS is that it's free at the point of use, that you're not denied health care because you can't afford to pay. Well, it seems that the inability to walk no longer counts as health, and helping people walk no longer counts as health care. Oh. Your legs are considered luxury items just like your teeth. Clearly, because British dentistry is terrible. If you don't want to be an immobile, toothless loser, pull yourself up by your bootstraps or something. The latest horror story to emerge is that King's College Hospital in London has decided it would be a brilliant idea to charge people for the use of wheelchairs. The story was originally broken by Jim Watterson's new Substack called London Centric. If you're confused by this headline, scroll halfway down the page. And there is the original tweet that I grabbed the photo from. People arriving at the hospital and unable to walk to A&E are pointed towards a hiring dock full of wheelchairs and unlocked by a credit card machine.
God.
It looks like the fucking thing at the airport, right? Like your luggage carrier.
No, it looks like those fucking scooter things around the fucking like.
It's a human luggage carrier.
Oh.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
King's College Hospital points out that the wheelchairs are free to use for the first 4 hours, but if anything, this makes things worse. Because the hospital has among the longest waiting times in the country, with patients regularly being left for more than 12 hours. If a broke and vulnerable person needs a wheelchair, they're forced to provide their card details to a company called Wheelshare. Wheelshare,
Okay.
how clever.
Yeah.
The patient...
Timeshare.
Timeshare
for wheelchairs.
Holy shit. Thank you, Keir Starmer, by the way. This is also why Starmer sucks. He really, really sucks.
Starmer sucks. He really, really sucks.
The patient might hope they'll be in and out of the hospital, but when their stay lasts much longer than 4 hours, they'll have no choice but to pay. And the charge is £2 an hour, and while that might not seem like a lot to some, I've been one of the people for who £2 is the difference between eating and starving. The hospital could be forcing sick and injured people to go hungry while they're recovering. Patients are being hit with a double whammy because they can't call an ambulance because the waiting times are so long. The whole point of an ambulance service is it's supposed to be an emergency service, but ours is unable to respond to actual emergencies in many parts of the country. That's how bad things are. Yeah. What was that from? Call the damn ambulance.
Call the damn ambulance. I wish I do, bro.
If you have an emergency, you'd better hope you have a...
Fallen, and I can't get up.
Well, you better hope that you have a friend who can give you a lift. Otherwise, you'll be paying... Otherwise, you'll be paying for a cab or lying in the street.
Yeah.
If you can't pay for a wheelchair when you get to hospital, you'll have to crawl like Rambo or hope a good Samaritan will give you a carry. If you smear blood on the floor, I guess you're expected to clean it up or pay a cleaning bill? Isn't our healthcare service brilliant? Universal healthcare. Remember, this is where people are asking for universal healthcare. The people in the UK have no choice but this. Just remember that. King's College Hospital claims it offers a refund on the wheelchair charge to patients who've had long wait time, but the patients are saying this isn't true. So they're gaslighting the injured and disabled on top of it. Laughably, the hospitals...
Talked about, you go way back in the archives to Spy School.
We played that.
That's also about King's College.
We played that a couple of weeks ago when you were off during the hurricane episode. We put together a Palestine Origins playlist of INN news clips, and Spy School was one of them by Alan McLeod.
Yep. McLeod.
Are we okay? So laughably, here's the other one. The hospital's other defense is the charge stops people from stealing wheelchairs. Are we expected to believe that wheelchair theft is so serious a problem that jeopardizing vulnerable people is a preferable alternative?
Have you been smoking marijuana?
Anyway, You shouldn't have to hand over your money to a private company and then ask for it back. That's your money. The hospital could be forcing people into unauthorized overdraft, and when you're poor, that's a death spiral. That's fees of 30, 40 pounds for the 2 pounds you were going to take off, and they were broke to begin with.
Right.
When you're needlessly charging people to rent things that are essential, things that we used to own until capitalists took them away, it's not even capitalism anymore. Forcing people to pay rents like this is feudalism. This company is not providing a service. It's leaving wheelchairs sitting there until you give them money for doing nothing but owning them.
Money for nothing.
Chicks for free.
Yep.
This is another example of cost-cutting measures costing us more and harming our well-being. It somehow even gets worse. Guess where Wheelshare has directors from?
Oh, I could tell you.
Wheelshare,
I could tell you.
The company that rents out the wheelchairs, is based in Israel, meaning you can't do BDS without putting your health at risk. Thank you, Blondie. The NHS is subsidizing the genocidal settler colony, and so are you if you need a wheelchair. Yes. Director number 1, Israel Kassirer, born October 1975, all appointed on 12th of July 22. He's listed as a CEO. Also, David Michael and Mayor Slater, all C-level executives, all living or registered at 21 Hamalacha, Rosh Hayin, Israel.
Nice.
Are you fucking... give me the... Are you fucking kidding me? That's what I felt. When I read that, that was the first... Are you
fucking kidding me?
I mean, I screamed it. Disgustingly... 3 Israeli directors are lining their pockets by exploiting our most sick and vulnerable citizens. Pay close attention to the address of their company. You'll be thrilled to hear that Rosh Hayin was built on the site of an Ottoman fort and a destroyed Palestinian village.
Nice.
David Miller points out on Twitter that Rosh Hayin is, of course, a settlement built on top of the historic 16th century Ottoman fort that used to exist there. Ready for this? The fort and the Palestinian village next to it was called Ras Al Ain. It was all destroyed when the Palestinians were forcibly removed in the 1920s. Yes, more than 20 years before the Nakba. Again, this didn't start October 7th or even in 1948. Now, I will point out as a Jew and as someone who has learned how to read Hebrew, I don't know how to say it, but Rosh Hayin and Ras Al Ain, they literally Israeled the fucking name.
Yep.
David Miller also points out our health secretary has extensive connections to Israel. What a shock. As does the prime minister's wife. Israeli fingerprints are all over NHS privatization, with one company, Palantir, never heard of them before.
Heard them before.
Gaining a $330 million NHS contract. Palantir is linked to the Israeli military and has access to all of our medical data. You okay with these fuckers colonizing our NHS? Because I'm clearly not. Palantir also runs...
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Palantir also runs the software that powers the CIA and every U.S. intelligence agency. Nothing to see here. Please disperse.
FBI, open up!
That is a story you will not find anywhere else on independent media, unfortunately, and it is infuriating. And stories like that are why we're demonetized on INN. So please support your independent media streamers. Support Council Estate Media over on Substack. Ricky, my buddy Ricky, good peeps. Ooh, that's a chat from Appalachia Strong over on where's that? Over on Rumble. Please support Appalachia Strong, the only exclusive content from Ground Zero, meaning like in North Carolina. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. Right. We need assistance with gas for volunteers missing work to travel to our area. Please like, comment, and share this comment over on, and that's not a comment. Appalachia Strong, if you're still watching, drop a comment on the video and we will definitely like and share it as well. This is in a live chat, so we can't share that, but I am putting it up on stream right now for people to see. And bless you, and we hope it all works out for you. We did an extensive deep dive into what happened last week on How Do We Miss That with Jesse and Jessica Jett. Also, if you are of means, check it out. All our channels. You've got INN Newsletter over on the Substack. And then we've got YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitter, Spotify, but there's multiple Spotify. There's not one Spotify channel to find all of them, unfortunately. I think there's actually an Apple Music INN channel where you can get all the old INN podcasts. I think maybe even How Do We Miss That clips are there. Because the clips that I upload to my Substack actually go out as a separate podcast than the full show. So if you just want to hear them segments at a time, you can get that too. All right. Hi, everybody. It's time for quick hits. We've gotten through our 4 stories. It's 11:35. We're right on time. We're doing well. I've got a few things.
Inconceivable!
Inconceivable! It's not inconceivable!
One Vicodin, a small one after a literal 6-hour wait. Yeah, essential steaks. That's what they give you.
One Vicodin.
All right.
One scotch.
When I cut my fingertips off in 2010, I got to the hospital, sat in a bed, waited literally 6 hours with my middle and ring finger bones exposed to the world for them to come along and stitch me up.
Yep, I've been there.
Oh.
Chainsaw wound to my fingy was sitting there for like 3 or 4 hours. Like, what are we doing?
This story. Yep, and the wheelchair CEO name is Israel Kaiserer. That's right.
The money is there.
Golden Monarch. So is Wheelshare going to power those wheelchairs and Zionist Bitcoin? Hell to the gnaw. Yeah, that's right.
Probably.
Right.
It'll probably make you pay through, what are those? CBDCs, something like that.
Right.
Yep.
So
everything's going cashless.
Oh boy. So yeah, shout out to Natalie Williams. I know she hasn't been feeling very well. I know she's been kind of miserable, and anytime you need anything, you just check in on me, send me a DM wherever, and I'll come say hi and cheer you up or whatever. You know, everyone needs an advocate. Everyone needs people to talk to and bounce stuff off of, for sure. Cynic, you too. You know where to find all of us. So we know that you're recluse, but you know, we're fams. All of us are fams. Aww. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a struggle right now for everyone. We're all struggling, and that's what we're all here for. Jeff Black should be still in the chat if you are. He wrote a piece that pissed me off this week because he was right. All right. And what he said was, Substack is social media, not business. He wants to bite the hands that don't actually feed us. All right. We always want to kind of tepidly talk about platforms. We don't want to upset the powers that be or the CEOs who actually engage with us and get them to block us or shadow ban us or turn on us. Bullshit. Captured social.
I'm in danger.
Captured social media platforms are anything but independent opportunities for income, is what he's saying. Is that everyone is a creator, but few are influencers. Awaken to the scheme that's been run upon us over and over. It's all played out, I guarantee it. And this is what really hurt. But he's right. Not one platform provides living wage income for creative and truly independent humans who don't serve an algorithmic master. The captured internet offers no free market legitimacy as it's filtered and controlled by surveillance, biased search engine results, monopolies, and unlimited AI fraud. Now, what he says is he was triggered by a post that Substack had made trying to engage and convince people that they too can be successful and earn money on Substack.
Great success.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Now, what they do is on their website, they put up this calculator claiming that if you have 800 paying subscribers paying just $7 a month after fees, you could make over $4,600 a month in income. Wow. What Jeff says is exactly how many Substack writers have 800 subscribers or more paying $7 a month or more as per your great writing is valuable advertisement.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
His contention is that anyone claiming to make a living as an independent media personality on Substack, Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, or any other ancillary social media platform is A, an owner of that platform, B, an already established influencer or journalist monetizing an already large audience, which we see a lot of, C, an early adopter of the rigged game, maximizing platform algorithms, like, for example, Aiden Ross over at Kick.com, and now the Hawk Tua girl, they just gave her $5 million. You think they're not going to promote the shit out of her? Who? And then you've got the liars, people who are representing opportunity to earn income as independent media, which don't exist in reality. Anyone who says you can make a living as a non-influencer with original content, prove me wrong. Shout out to Jeff on that one. Go follow him. Dashboard, full dash closure is his Substack. Full dash closure. It's jeffthomasblack.substack.com.
My name is Jeff.
We talked a little bit about Appalachia earlier. Norfolk Southern line into Asheville is going to be closed at least 3 months. This is where they deliver steel, all right, from Tennessee into North Carolina. A lot of rail moves there. Assessment continues on the Asheville Old Fort, North Carolina segment damaged by Hurricane Helene. A lot of this, Helene caused millions and millions of dollars in damage. And this is just a couple of snippets from over at FreightWaves. It's a much longer article. The link will be in the description after the show. In the area hardest hit in late September, on the line between Salisbury, North Carolina and Morristown, Tennessee, assessments have determined that approximately 21,500 feet of track have been washed out, with more than another 50,000 feet damaged by scour and an additional 15,000 feet of fill failure and slides. Multiple bridges have also been damaged.
That's a lot of damage.
Of which we heard last week that they were saying 5 bridges had fallen into the water and needed to be rebuilt from scratch. I don't know how many were rail bridges. The segments between Morristown and Newport and between Salisbury and Old Fort have been reopened, even though public roadways have remained unavailable in some areas. And I wanted to show you on a map just where that looks like and just how much rail line we're talking about. All right. Charlotte is here at the bottom. Salisbury is where the rail line starts there. Everything in green is currently operational. Everything in yellow is being restored, but isn't going to be restored for 3 months. And everything in red is still out, and they're still trying to figure out just how bad it is. But they can't get any goods between Newport and Old Fort right now. It's a gap. So they're going to have to either truck them there or get them there some other way, airlift, helicopter, something. This is part of the reason why you've got Appalachia asking for more help still. All right? And that's not over. That's still ongoing. So please help them. The remoteness and mountain topography, coupled with conditions following the storm and resulting flooding, have made it difficult to even assess damage in the areas around Asheville and over Black Mountain. It's mountainous territory. Now, I got another quick hit here that was in Off Guardian, another Indie Media Award honoree. I've never heard of Colin Todhunter, but he wrote this really long article detailing specifically just how bad, and we know how bad Bayer Monsanto is. This goes into some of the history of Bayer Pharmaceuticals. It goes into the crossover of Monsanto and the acquisition of Monsanto and what Bayer is now doing with genetically modified stuff. I grabbed a few slides from this. He says that this is again written by Colin Todhunter. Environmentalist and campaigner Rosemary Mason has been relentlessly exposing the insidious efforts of agrochemicals on human health and the environment through a decade-long series of incisive reports. Many of these reports have taken the form of scathing open letters directed at corporations, regulators, and officials in the UK and the EU. She almost sounds like a Ralph Nader over there, like Ralph Nader used to be, a public advocate. Regulators! They're not doing their job. Mason has never held back in her condemnations of the agrochemical giants. After Bayer's acquisition of Monsanto in 2018, her focus sharpened on Bayer, scrutinizing its troubling history and its actions, not least during one of humanity's darkest chapters, Nazi Germany. Bayer, yeah, they were around during Nazi Germany. Yes, they were. Bayer's complicity as part of IG Farben, a chemical and pharmaceutical conglomerate notorious for its involvement in war crimes, has been well documented. The company was formed in 1925 from a merger of 6 chemical firms: AGFA, BASF, Bayer, Chemische Fabrik Gresham Electron, Hecht, and Weiler Termeer. Sorry if I butchered any of that. More recently, Bayer has inherited a legacy of deception through its acquisition of Monsanto, of which the warmonger Hillary Clinton was a board member for many, many years. She may even still be. Both companies have been accused of concealing the health risks associated with glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup and the world's most used agricultural herbicide. Internal documents reveal a concerted effort to downplay glyphosate's carcinogenicity while ignoring substantial evidence indicating its dangers to human health. Yes, it's carcinogenic.
It turns the friggin' frogs gay.
No, it turns the friggin' frogs dead because it's cancerous. In her numerous reports, Mason has shown how Bayer shaped regulatory processes to secure product approvals because the FDA is captured by the pharmaceuticals. They also influence scientific studies because they fund them and regulatory decisions while suppressing contrary evidence. They would never do that for profit. The environmental devastation wrought by Bayer's pesticides is alarming. Mason cites significant declines in biodiversity and poisoned ecosystems as a direct consequence of their widespread use. But Bayer was not merely an observer, but an active participant in heinous medical experiments conducted on concentration camp inmates. Yep.
We're sorry.
Are they? These experiments involve testing drugs on unwilling subjects, including those at Auschwitz, where prisoners were deliberately infected with diseases to evaluate Bayer's pharmaceuticals. Allegedly, right? Allegedly. During World War I, Bayer was involved in the development of chemical weapons, including chlorine and mustard gas. As part of IG Farben, Bayer later contributed to the creation of nerve agents like taboon, sarin gas, and soman. Post-war, Bayer Post-war, Bayer transitioned these chemical developments into pesticides such as parathion, which are neurotoxic. Nothing to see here. Here's the worst one. In addition, IG Farben was implicated in the production of Zyklon B, which was the gas used in the concentration camps. They created the gas for the gas chambers. Executives,
it was just simple rat poison, Indy. God.
Executives from IG Farben were convicted for their roles in war crimes at Nuremberg.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot more there, and I grabbed this also in saying that, moreover, rising cancer rates in communities exposed to Bayer's products cannot be ignored, especially increasing cases of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma linked to glyphosate use in areas heavily treated with these chemicals.
Yep.
Rosemary Mason is not alone in her condemnation of Bayer. For instance, journalist Carrie Gilliam has written extensively about Bayer Monsanto's practices, particularly in relation to glyphosate and its health impacts in the book Whitewash, the story of a weed killer, cancer, and the corruption of science. Again, a lot more there, including that paragraph, but we move on. Be careful what you wish for. This is how I wanted to close this out for a minute. Why would a government want to do a deal with the devil? Well, that's precisely what the government of India seems to have done when it signed a memorandum of understanding with Bayer in September of 2023. Bayer signed the MOU with the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, which is ICAR, which is responsible for coordinating agricultural education and research in India.
Yep.
In July of this year, hundreds of scientists, farmer leaders, farmers, and ordinary citizens signed a letter and sent it to Himanshu Pathak, Director General of the ICAR, stating that it's poison and fuck these guys and don't let them do this. But they already did.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
I got one more quick hit. University of Michigan moves to eliminate due process for students. Now, I've read a couple of Ryan McCarty, who guest posts over at Left Voice. We reported on University of Michigan in April or March about some of the stuff that they were doing. And remember how they cut the graduate students went on strike? And they cut the health care for the Michigan students, grad students?
Yep.
Well, now, the latest shit that they're pulling is that they are changing the rules of disciplinary hearings so that the students can't go in front of their own panel, but one that is handpicked by the university and loyal to them. This latest in a series of police and administrative attacks on university student and worker voices comes as a response to growing labor and social justice movements on campus. This is out of Left Voice, another Indie Media Award honoree. All right. It starts that in March, the university pushed their repression of community voices further in their draft policy against disruption, which was widely criticized by students, faculty, and alumni, as well as the GEO, the lecturer employee organization. The G is the grad student employee organization. All right, which represents non-tenure track faculty. The AAUP chapter representing some tenure track faculty, the ACLU of Michigan, among others. A whole group of, despite the widespread criticism, the university doubled down on the legitimacy of their statement while indicating that they would continue thinking about how this new policy would be implemented. But an important line was buried in the university's response to critics, signaling their next avenue of repression of dissenting voices. Quote, "We will also consider whether a revision to our long-standing policies and standards of conduct will meet our current needs. Well, that revision happened over the summer. The university snuck these revisions in this summer while students and faculty were largely absent from campus. How convenient. On July 18th, University of Michigan's elected Board of Regents, which consisted of 6 Democrats and 2 Republicans, all fascist corporate loyal entities, sidestepped the normal process of consultations with central student government and the faculty senate and voted to adopt a new set of revisions to the university's Statement of Student Rights and Responsibilities, which is the document that outlines disciplinary policies for students.
I am the Senate.
Well, and they altered the deal. Pray they don't alter it further, because they did it without anybody consulting. In its revisions to the statement, University of Michigan eliminated guarantees that an accused student could ask for an appeals panel consisting of students, faculty, and staff. Why would they want that? Now, the vice president for student affairs, which is a university administrator, handles all appeals. If the university were a neutral party in these hearings, this change might be less problematic. But another significant change to the statement is that now University of Michigan itself can file complaints against students, while previously complaints had to be filed by other students, faculty, or staff. With this addition, the university now gives itself the ability to forego due process if it so chooses, because acting as the final arbitrator in the appeals process, this change gives the university veto power if an accused student opts for a panel of their peers. This veto would then force the student's case into the hands of a resolution officer appointed by the university, making it both the complainant and the final judge. Yeah, that seems legit. Essentially, the university has changed its policies so that it can prosecute and punish students freely without oversight from faculty or student representative bodies. Fucked up. It's important to recognize what University of Michigan and the state government's two-pronged attack on freedom of speech in campus illustrates about the connections between personal freedoms, working class power, and an anti-war activism. All three are being attacked simultaneously, all in the name of encouraging safety or avoiding disruption. This is the gaslight.
Right away.
That's what they want to do. And quick hits like that and bringing articles and stories like that are why we get demonetized and we don't get the love from the algorithm. And why they don't get, why we don't get the shares and the visibility that we need, and why we rely on you for funding, for support, for sharing. That would be nice. So we've got Cash App, cash.app/$Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. Very important, that one. That's the QR code above Reef as well. PayPal.me/Indie News Network, rumble.com/C/Indie News Network. Or you can also go and sign up in our newsletter and contribute there at innnewsletter.com. There are all the channels which you can find all of at indienews.network, INDIE news.network. Let me see. I think that's all I had slide-wise. Yeah! Woo! All right. But I do have some other things, what to watch, that I wanted to share.
No, we were done. We did it.
No, we weren't done. We were not done. So the first thing was, why is this not working? Okay.
2 minutes.
Yes, 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. Jesse Jett made an appearance on Hardlands Media Friday night. Check that out. Go watch it. He played some tunes. They read some news. They talked about Jeremy Lafredo being arrested by Israel and then being released, but detained and not able to leave the country. I also was on Hardlands Media on Monday to talk about Rockfin, to talk about Hurricane Milton, to talk about a bunch of stuff, and hung out to cover the news. I showed up around 11, so after the first hour. And I joined Steve after about a half an hour on Tuesday with TLAV. It was TLAV Tuesday. I'll drop a link queued up in the description as well. And then Wednesday night, I co-hosted INN News with Care Bear Colin, and we talked about Georgia and the disgusting plume of dioxins that's going there, as well as the illusion of independent media with regard to Anna Kasparian et al. And others. And that is over at indienews.network. What's really cool is I've actually set up chapters there, so you can go right to each story if you want. Just click on the link right there on the left. All right. Then we also have Shanda, GoFundMe. I did play the video that we first cut when we found out that she had lung cancer. She is starting chemo this week. Her port is in. We are with her every step of the way. We love her. We love you, Shanda. We're behind you. This session, the first session, is going to be a very long one. Oz is going to be there the whole time as well. Shout out and big love to Oz for all that he's doing to support Shanda in her time of need. Move that over a little bit. And then we've got also next. So that's again GoFundMe for Shanda, and that will be in the link in the description. Hey, how about that? We hit a milestone at INN Newsletter this week. We achieved our 1,000th free subscriber. So thank you to everyone. Really, it's been a 3-year grind. Go to INNnewsletter.com. We started publishing a daily newsletter in August. I've been doing a weekly one for over a year, about a year and a half now. And I stepped it up to now offer a daily one in addition to the weekly, because there's so much happening between clips and articles and live streams and appearances that every day there's enough. Yesterday was the first day we didn't publish one in weeks because
Congratulations!
Thank you. Everybody actually took a break. Yes, Steve Gill, go Shanda, fuck Terry. Terry is the name of her tumor, in case you don't know. All right. Next, that is our newsletter, and that's what it looks like. INN Newsletter by Indie News Network, INNnewsletter.com. We also hit a milestone on Twitter this week, 5,000 followers. So again, thank you so much to everyone that's following us. Twitter.com/GetIndieNews. We're already up to 5,016. So follow us there. That's where we're actually streaming live there as well. But that's where all of the videos that are put out by everyone in our network are all shared to indienews.net, twitter.com/GetIndieNews. Then we also have my Substack newsletter, indiemediatoday.com. That's where you'll get all of the clips for this show, all of the weekly updates sent out, a live stream alert every Sunday when we go live, original articles like writing about Rockfin and writing occasionally about Stripe or Jill Stein. Okay, we've also got all of the links to my guest appearances. I tried to link those and include those here as well. So there's a lot of value there. Again, $0, all for free dollars. So if you are so inclined and you're able to go there, sign up for free. And
everyone follow all the stuff so that Indy can stop plugging.
No.
Do the stuff.
And then finally, Indie Media Awards.
Do the things.
We are 2 weeks away, folks.
Follow the stuff.
Reese gonna have to bust out his tuxedo shirt, because 2 weeks from now
I can do that.
We're gonna be talking about and releasing the class of 2024 and introducing them with all of their Zago illustrations. I have some work to do here to create a bunch more pages and add to the existing top journalists, streamers, etc. But every single honoree has their own page now. You can check them out by category here at the top 4 on the left and right of the center. That was a clip we did a couple months ago when we first told people about what we were doing. We now have all the independent art up there, and we have the 2024s ready. Just setting this all up. So, all right, folks, we made it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, fam. Reef does not get a pants check. Oh, God, no. Please.
Florida men don't do pants anyway, bro.
Seriously,
y'all should know this.
You don't want that. Jesse Slade Friday night. Yes, he did. Steak. Appreciate that. CO2 pipeline. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, so yeah, support Shanda. Fuck
I'll
cancer.
keep an eye on that, Natalie. Pretty sure.
Fuck cancer. Iowa has proposed carbon dioxide pipelines that would transport emissions from ethanol plants to be stored underground or used for industrial purposes. What could possibly go wrong?
Anna Mears was talking about that.
What could possibly go wrong? All right.
Yep.
But thank you, everyone, for supporting independent media. Indy needs face check. Stop it. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. The answer is none of the above. That's right. Thank you, Cynic. None of the above. And support independent media. We need it more than ever. And
yep.
Give me about 10 minutes and we'll get into boats.
Yeah.
Mwah. Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
Tongue check. Gross.